West of the Ayleid ruin Anatwil, nestled quietly by the banks of the Larsius River, lies a forgotten campsite, unmarked on your map and easy to miss. At first, it seems like any other abandoned camp in Oblivion. A bedroll, a fire pit, the quiet hum of the wilderness. But this one is different. It hides a story. One that ties to the ancient stones of the ruin nearby. As unlike other camps, this one has an owner, or had one. Twice a month, on the 2nd and 16th, a lone mage named Cyrodiil of the Breville Mages Guild arrives to take residence. He stays just for 2 days, poring over the ancient magics that echo through Anatwil's broken halls. When greeting him back at the Mages Guild, he would explain.
Cyrodiil, mage trained, scholar by inclination, student of our Aldmeri ancestors, the Ayleids.
Which makes sense that this campsite in particular, close to the Ayleid well, offers him the perfect vantage to study the mysteries of the long-fallen civilization. But the study of the arcane comes with a price. The irony is sharp and cruel. The Ayleids, in all their power, sought transcendence to cast off mortality and join the divine at all costs. And yet Cyrodiil, in his pursuit of their secrets, is vulnerable to the same fate that they failed to escape, the mortal coil. As we find, it's entirely possible for Cyrodiil to be killed by the creatures that haunt these very ruins, such as wolves, trolls, or in this case, bandits. One moment of distraction is all it takes. And in that moment, the scholar becomes another mystery, another death, another relic among the many.
Show me what you've got.
The student of the Ayleids, claimed by the very past he sought to understand.
The Ayleid ruin of Anatwil is nearby. I can spend a few days on site, then return here for the comforts of home and my library.
Tucked deep in the West Weald, hidden against the cliffs north of Breville, stands a lonely structure. As one of Oblivion's many unmarked locations, it seems someone lived here once. However, now it's crawling with bandits. Whoever called this place home is long gone, slain, most likely. Their home now squatted by raiders who treat the place like a hideout, looting its supplies and repurposing its peace for their own comfort. Now, you could clear them out, as many players do. A quick purge, a few swings of your blade, and the house is yours. Free beds, free loot, and no trespassing charge. But if you simply wait, something stranger happens. An Oblivion gate can erupt through the house itself, turning the once stolen sanctuary into a fiery ruin. Walls collapse, furniture turns to ash, and the bandits, whether inside or returning later, are slaughtered by Daedra. It's a rare moment of karmic justice in Oblivion. As we find in the quiet ruin of the Forgotten House, a truth so many overlook, that Mehrunes Dagon's fire promises not just destruction, but deliverance to those abandoned by the divine. Impossibly high southeast of Cheydinhall in the Vallis Mountains lies one of Oblivion's unspoken obscurities unmarked on any map, a dark grove. It's here we find a circle of towering dead trees surrounding the clearing, limbs skeletal and bark blistered. The ground beneath is strangely barren, as if burned or something has simply refused to grow ever again. At the center of this silent graveyard of trees stands a grim arrangement. 2 wooden spikes, each crowned with skulls, not placed, not tossed, but driven into the stake with purpose. Between them is a chest with a minor amount of loot inside. But on its lid burns a small candle, its flame still flickering, so we know it's freshly lit. And that changes everything. This is no forgotten place. It's a message. The spikes with skulls weren't decorated by beasts or goblins. As we see, the skulls have been held in with nails driven through in various points, meaning they were arranged deliberately. Whoever did this wanted their warning to be understood. Stay out. Worse still, the chest may not be abandoned at all. The flame means someone lit it, and that someone may soon return to place a 5th skull in the circle. Have you ever stumbled upon a lonely, unmarked grave high in Oblivion's mountains? Here's why it's one of the game's deepest mysteries. Located but a stone's throw from Boethiah's shrine, the grave is nestled among jagged stone and sheer cliffs. There's no marked tomb or no shrine attended by priests, just a lonely headstone carved with delicate, nameless etchings, as if the one buried here was remembered deeply but not meant to be found. Before it sits a non-respawning chest containing only minor loot. No riches, no legacy, not even a clue as to how long they've been buried here. Just a faint echo of a life once lived. And yet, the view from this place is breathtaking. From the edge of the cliff, the land rolls away into the heart of Cyrodiil. Below, the Silverfish River begins its winding journey south, glinting in the light like a memory. Then, why here? Who was buried on this perilous ridge? And what did they mean to the one who laid them to rest and took the journey to do so? Was it a follower of Boethiah, honoured with solitude after a life of silent service? A beloved soul whose final wish was to sleep forever above the river they cherished? Or perhaps a nameless explorer, once famed, now forgotten, their grave a secret kept only by the mountains. No enemies we know of guard this place. No notes remain, only a stone and a chest and a view. And that's what makes it one of Oblivion's most quietly haunting stories, told without a word. Skingrad's graveyard is far more sinister than it first appears. Tucked away northeast of the city, this eerie cemetery is one of Oblivion's many unmarked locations, easy to overlook, but impossible to forget. At a glance, it seems almost peaceful, a central stone circle, doubling as a planter, cradling a striking, ornate orange tree. Fireflies drift lazily through the air come evening, the only signs of life among the buried dead. But the quiet doesn't last forever, as during the main quest, an Oblivion gate may open here, tearing the land asunder and spewing coffins to the surface. The dead are violently ejected from their rest, a chilling testament to the Daedra's utter contempt for both the living and the dead. And then, of course, there's Villanu Hlalu, Skingrad's resident corpse enthusiast. She's known to frequent local graveyards.
By the way, do you happen to know what the fine is here in Cyrodiil for necrophilia? Just asking.
And one can only imagine her reaction as a gate to Oblivion erupts beneath her feet, caskets bursting open around her, a haunting image, equal parts grim and grimly amusing.
Take care.
In the hills between Bravil and Skingrad lies a forgotten camp, unmarked on any map. This lonely outpost, known by some as the Westweald Camp, offers no real protection from the elements, no defences, just 2 tents and 2 bedrolls. At first glance, the occupants seem to have gone, though the fire is still lit. Perhaps a duo of alchemists collecting the many ingredients found in the Westweald. Nearby, the earth blooms with motherwort, viper's bug loss, and lady smock. But the scene hides a darker truth. This camp was not always empty. 2 people once lived here, or at least they camped here long enough to set up tents, build a fire, and settle in. But when the Oblivion crisis came knocking, so did their end. If fate is unkind, an Oblivion gate will tear open directly atop this quiet camp during the main quest, reducing it to a scorched crater. The tents are obliterated. The massive stone beside the camp, gone. The flora is singed and the sky bleeds red, and the occupants that were thought to have left have reappeared as 2 burnt bodies. Worse yet, one of the body's arms is outstretched in a final attempt, perhaps to comfort a loved one, before they perished. South of Fort Irony, nestled on a lonely island in the middle of the Niben River, stands one of Oblivion's many forgotten and unmarked locations. A burnt-out tower that is utterly unexplained. No quest marker, No journal update, just ruin and silence. But what happened here? Environmental storytelling gives us our only clues as we see two trees grow near the wreckage. One is white with the golden leaves, radiant even in decay. The other is a charred black husk, stripped of life, twisted against the sky. Between them lies the tower, scorched, broken, and hollow. Approaching from the west, it's clear the damage is worse there. The western walls partially collapsed, blackened stone and splintered wood spilling out. The eastern side, by contrast, still clings to structure, barely. Inside, we find traces of habitation, a non-respawning crate filled with old clutter, a torn sack of grain, aged and dust-covered, holding only ingredients, and a single respawning chest, locked and holding minor loot, as if the world keeps offering rewards here long after its story ended. So we can divine that someone recently lived here. But who and what happened? Well, the southeast corner we see is piled with ash. Perhaps there was a cooking fire that raged out of control. But if that's true, why is the eastern side also damaged? Could this have been a bandit raid, of firebombings raining down in the night, a mage's experiment misfiring disastrously, or something more tragic, a family caught in an accidental blaze? What we don't find are bodies. There are no bones, no ghosts, and no answers. Just a tower, two trees, one burned and one still golden, as if something here chose to live, while something else had to burn. Lost along the Abbecean coast, this forgotten shipwreck is an unmarked location in Oblivion, easy to miss, and still cloaked in mystery. Which begs the question, what happened here? With some detective work, we can begin to survey the remnants of the unnamed vessel's remains. Its hull is breached, split open like a broken ribcage. The mast half cracked, collapsing straight into the captain's quarters, nothing more than splinters and shadow. Whatever happened wasn't gentle. Nearby, just off the coast, is a narrow wooden bridge connecting the mainland to a small island. A strange place to run aground, unless, of course, you were trying to stay hidden, as the nearby city of Anvil's lighthouse isn't just for show. So what possibly would the crew be trying to hide? Which brings us to scattered across the sand outside the wreck, a shattered crate, its contents long since looted or lost, a half-buried chest, its lid flung wide and empty, another chest still open containing only a silver tankard and silver urn glinting like forgotten offerings, and finally a respawning chest still generating minor loot as though someone intended to come back for the booty. But no one ever did. So what happened? Was the ship caught in a storm, dragged to shore by the fury of the Abbecean's tide? Or did the crew sail here deliberately, avoiding the bustling port of Anvil and the ever-watchful eye of Newheim the Portly, the Gold Coast's infamous chonky dockmaster? Or perhaps there were illicit goods aboard, contraband, things best kept away from prying eyes. Maybe the crew unloaded what they could carry under the cover of darkness. Maybe they planned to return, but something stopped them. Now only the sea and sand remain, and the ruined ship waits in silence. An unmarked mystery, its cargo unclaimed, its crew unaccounted for. And a story the waves refuse to tell. Falanu Halalu is a dark elf alchemist and proprietor of all things alchemical in Skingrad. She sells alchemical apparatus, potions, and ingredients. And she also, as you may know, when you meet her for the first time, introduces herself and provides some intriguing background info.
Me? I'm Falanu. House Falalu. As if that matters here.
When asked about Skingrad, she will enlighten you further, asking her own disturbing question.
I'm the only alchemist in Skingrad. Not much business here, but I can't go back to Morrowind. It's just like anywhere else in the Empire. By the way, do you happen to know what the fine is here in Cyrodiil for necrophilia? Just asking.
We're then given 3 options to reply, being, I have no idea.
Thanks anyway.
Otherwise, is it the first offence?
Let's assume no.
Then, that's at least 500 gold.
That's nothing compared to Morrowind. Thanks. Farewell.
For the player, this brings up a flurry of pertinent ponderings, such as Falanu stating a fine of 500 gold is nothing compared to Morrowind. That insinuates she's not only previously committed said crime, but been caught and paid the fine as well, which makes sense as to possibly why she left her homeland. It's easy to imagine corpse fiddlers are not really good for House Lalu's reputation. Speaking of moving around to hide her dark secret, this is not the first store that Falano has set up in Cyrodiil. How do we know? Well, it could be a massive coincidence, but Falano runs, as you know, all things alchemical. Curiously, a ruined building bearing the same all things alchemical sign as her shop in Skingrad can be found on the southeastern shore of Lake Rumer. The ruined building is east of a memorial cave on the Red Ring Road, and the burned out remnants feature a well, barrels and chests, with some minor respawning loot, and most curiously, or ironically, I should say, 3 resist fire potions, 2 potions of insulation, and 1 strong potion of insulation that seems to have survived the fire due to their nature, which then begs the question, how did this establishment burn down? Was it alchemy gone wrong? Angry townsfolk running Hlalu out of her business, in which she escaped and set up a new store in Skingrad? Perhaps the fire was caused by friction. Speaking of Falano's questionable alchemical past, did you know she holds hidden dialogue only unlocked when certain criteria are met? As an expert in alchemy,
yes.
Falano will give you a hint as to where you can learn more about your newly found Nirn root after discovering a sample.
I don't know. Never seen that sort of route before. Head over to the Westfield Inn and talk to Sindarian. He could identify it for you, I'm sure.
Which is actually funny, because at the start of her conversation, she stated,
I'm the only alchemist in Skingrad.
and clearly she's not the only alchemist in Skingrad, as she refers you to Sindarian.
What brings you to my little home underground?
I guess she had other things on her mind. Moreover, learning of her dark past. Once you've read Modern Heretics or spoken with Yulene Hlurvu about Cheydinhall,
You worship the 9 divines, perhaps. Have they ever helped or harmed you? Of course not. Now, worship a Daedra Lord, and you get effects. Bad ones, of course, but clear and measurable effects. Be seeing you.
or Trayvon the Red Guard.
Daedra cults aren't necessarily evil, of course. In nearby Morrowind, for example, they worship Daedra in the temple. The Azura Shrine north of town, up Lake Arius way, for instance. I know a dark elf there. Nothing evil about him.
A new
What do you
Daedra
want?
cults conversation topic will appear. When you speak to Falanu about this, she will mark Sanguine's shrine on your map with the words,
What makes you think I'd know anything about that? But it just so happens I've run into some Sanguine worshippers up in the Imperial Reserve, a long way north-northwest of Skingrad. Can't give you any better directions, unfortunately. Traveled mostly at night with a guide and didn't see much on the way.
Staying on brand for Hlalu, the Daedra Sanguine is the Daedric prince of lust, perversity, and unnatural sexual relations. Anything in excess is his motto. And his shrine and worshippers can be found in all states of revelry north of Skingrad in the Imperial Reserve, making sense as to why Falanu would seek out her like-minded kin.
Have you come to revel in the glory that is the Shrine of Sanguine? It is a place of celebration for us. We dance, we make love. Would you speak with Sanguine? Of course you won't. Go on about your dreary existence. The Lord Sanguine has no interest in one such as yourself. Go then.
It all feels good. It's all fun. Why not?
Unsurprisingly, the other residents of Skingrad have their suspicions about the new resident Falanu, as if we follow her on her daily schedule, she can be found loitering around the graveyard a little too long, and they will comment.
Maybe it's just me, but I find Falanu Hlalu really odd. And I've seen him hanging around the graveyard with a strange smile on his face.
While others might say,
There's just something wrong with that guy. and he has an odd smell about him.
I'd stay away from him if I were you. There's something very wrong with that man.
And finally, one of the greatest songs dedicated to the departed doting Dunmer by Young Scrolls is As Lively as They Come, which is linked on screen, accompanied by another video by yours truly. I hope you enjoy.
Let me do that one again. What's the fine for necrophilia in this part of Tamriel? What's the fine for necrophilia in this part of Tamriel?